Hi everyone, it's Nathan here again, and there's one thing that I haven't spoken about yet when it comes to the exam results for year 11 and year 13. And the question is, what happens when you're not happy with your grade? Well, you're left with two options. The first one is to appeal. The second one is to sit the exam in autumn. So, we have two choices there, but each of them comes riddled with their own problems. So first, let me just tell you what Ofqual have said on this entire topic of not being happy with your exam grade. And as usual, all this information comes from Ofqual. That's the body that the government has to deal with assessment and examination. And I'll put all the links and the sources down below as usual. So if you get your grade in August and you're either not happy with it or you think you could do better, you can sit the exam in autumn. It's something that Ofqual call the autumn series. Now, if everything goes to plan, the autumn series of these exams will work like this. The GCSE exams will take place in October, and the next month in November will be the AS and A level exams. But there's still a bit of wiggle room, and Ofqual say, because they don't know what's going to happen in the future, expect that those might change slightly, those dates. So there's a whole document on what Ofqual are proposing when it comes to how exam centres will deal with that and the exam boards as well, but because that doesn't relate directly to students, I'm not going to bother speaking about that. You can look that up using the government website down below. So in the meantime, let's talk about the problems that come with a student taking the autumn series. So for starters, it may delay your progression, and this is especially the case for year 13s. So people who are finishing their A levels and their BTECs in year 13, if you do not receive grades that get you to your first place, but you do get your second option, your second place for university, then you might be unhappy with that and want the first place. If you retake the autumn series to get the results for that first place, then because the autumn series takes place so late, you will have to take a gap year. There's no way around it. I mean, this might have been an option that you would have done anyway, but it will mean that you have to delay everything, delay your plans by a year. But as far as year 11 is concerned, you have no choice but to move on. And if you're going to be taking some of the autumn series, it means that you'll be doing some GCSEs, maybe even a number of GCSEs, at the same time as your AS levels and BTECs. So whatever you're doing next. That will mean that you're having to balance two different years' topics at the same time. The impact of trying to sit an exam while trying to learn new content for something completely different could be super detrimental to both things that you're trying to do, both endeavours. So you might flop the autumn series, making them a waste of time, or, well, most possibly, and you could negatively impact your new courses, so your year 12 courses, your BTEC, your college courses, because you're focusing on something else at the same time, trying to pass an exam while trying to learn this new content and do your assignments for that topic. Fortunately for you, if you do flop the autumn series, then they'll take your original grade that you got back in August. But there's not much that we can do about the content that you've missed out on or not being able to delve fully into on your new year 12 stuff. So you'll have to weigh that out. One upside to the autumn series situation though is that for people that are homeschooled and didn't have a proper relationship with their exam centres or the teachers there, the people that would have given you your grade, you now have an option to go in and get an accurate grade that reflects the work that you put in. So it does have a plus side there. One more thing about the autumn series is that early entrants don't seem to be able to take them. So you might remember that I made a video on how we have some good news, like the year 10 or even younger. The early entrants from those years will get a grade this August. Well, the fact that you're getting a good grade seems to be where the good news stops. If you don't like the grade that you get, it looks like, of course, saying you're going to have to just wait until 2021 and take the exam in summer with everybody else in your year. But I'll have to confirm that one for you guys, because I know that there's a lot of stuff shifting around with year 10 and how we're dealing with that. So what's your thought on the autumn series? If you're in year 11 or 13 or even 12, do you think that you're going to be taking them? Or do you think that's a waste of time? Let me know down in the comments below. And also don't forget to subscribe. Okay, now let's talk about appeals. So the appeals process is still super unclear. It sounds like there definitely is going to be one, but Ofqual aren't quite sure what shape it seems like it will take. So this is what they've said. Appeals by students would have to initially be aimed at their centres, because after all, the centres are marking them. The exam boards have nothing to do with the grading this time, apart from maybe a little bit of standardisation. So it would have to be based on evidence that there's bias or discrimination within their centre. And the thing about this is that if the appeal is made, then the investigation will be into the entire school, or that entire, at least, subject area or faculty as a whole, and will be into malpractice. They'll be looking into whether the school is doing its job properly, whether the teachers are doing their job properly, which can have really negative effects on all the marking as a whole for that school. So it could prove to be very, very problematic. Here's another issue that Ofqual can see with the appeals process. In usual exam marking, you can get another examiner to come and look at the first examiner's work and make sure that everything's correct, or grade it up or grade it down. In this case, that can't exactly be done. Remember, it's your teachers who are giving you your grade, and they would be the people who have seen you work throughout the course of the GCSE, and they would know your work and know you. So adjusting that would require there to be someone who is as knowledgeable of you and your work as your teacher. And as Ofqual say, such a person does not exist. The other alternative to this would be giving the students their grades before sending them off for standardisation. And of course, that will just lead to a whole pile of problems and unreliability. You'll get teachers and students putting pressure on teachers to raise their grades, and it will just make the entire thing inaccurate. There's a reason why one of the first things that Ofqual and the government said was, do not tell students the grades that you are giving them. And this ties in exactly, so we can't use that system. It has to be kept away from the students until they get that final grade in August. Now, the next part is where things get really interesting, because we've been speaking about students appealing, but Ofqual are saying that schools, entire test centres might want to appeal. And it appears that there's going to be a system for this. And the reason for this is something that I've mentioned in my past videos. Schools are not the same from year to year. Cohorts are different. So you might have a school where one cohort is amazing one year and the next one isn't as impressive, and it could fluctuate year on year. So if this is the case, Ofqual has said that they'll look into cases where schools can demonstrate that the year that they have at the moment is significantly different to the ones that came before, and so they'll make adjustments for that. The only problem is that other schools will look at that and say, why are you grading them and standardizing them but by a different standard than you are to us? That's unfair. So even with this one, you're sort of wondering, how exactly is it going to work? How can this appeals process be made as fair as possible and not put other schools at a disadvantage? So when it comes to the appeals process as a whole, it doesn't seem like there's any way in which everyone wins in this. There always seems to be someone who's going to lose out, or someone that might get a slight advantage over others. And it doesn't look like Ofqual have decided exactly what they want to do. They're still working on it and talking with the several schools all over the country that they're consulting with to see what the best option is and how they can make this as fair as possible. I think what everyone wants, or I hope what everybody wants, is to minimise the negative impact on the students as much as possible, because to be honest, they're the ones that lose out the most here. If things go wrong and disadvantage students, it's the students who have to deal with it during their life, not the teachers and not Ofqual themselves. So hopefully we can get a system that works. I'm really interested in hearing your thoughts on both the appeals process and on the autumn series. So once again, don't forget to leave those in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe as well. We've got loads of videos that will hopefully be popping up now that talk about how your grades will be calculated, if you're at a disadvantage and why you may be. And we've also got some more videos coming that you'll hopefully find really interesting and useful as well. So don't forget to subscribe, leave your thoughts, and that's all for now. Until next time.